All right, now that we've made sure that the linear gear will slide effortlessly in the slot, I'm going to show you how to size the slider rods. All right, so here we have the bottom pylon piece, and these two pieces of rod are going to be cut to the same size. Now, before I make the first cut, I'm going to use a flat file and round that end. It's easier to do when you have a longer piece of wire than a shorter piece of wire because you can hold it steady in your hands. So I'm flipping the file through approximately 90 degrees of rotation as I'm rotating the rod in my fingertips. Okay, it's still kind of flattened on the end here. All right, there we go. All right, now what you want to do is put this rod into the slot with the opening, that horseshoe-shaped opening, and get yourself a Sharpie pen. All right, so make sure that the rounded end you just filed is touching the wall right there on that straight in the opening. And look here, what you want to do is place a mark approximately 1/8 of an inch in to this long slot right here. All right, so you want to make sure that that mark overlaps the end line here of this opening space. Okay, now that we've done that, there's the mark, here's my cutters. Okay, now I'm going to take and break that off and then flatten out and round off that cut edge. There we go. All right, let's see here. That's all the way forward, and note how the rod now spans this space. It doesn't come out of that hole. It's very important here. This has to be able to move far enough over to completely clear this horseshoe-shaped hole. Now, in reality, it's only going to move to about there before the bomb drops out. And I can demonstrate how that works here. Let's put the bomb in. We'll slide the metal rod through, and that is the way the bomb is held. Slide the rod back, the bomb drops off. All right, so cut the second piece of metal to the same exact size as this one, and we're ready for the next step. All right, I have my two metal rods here, very close to the same height. See, there's a minor difference there, but overall that won't make anything improperly work. All right, so we're going to put these two in place like that. Both of them forward. All right, so I'm taking more care to make sure that they're aligned on the back than on the front. As long as that closes all the way over the opening, that's good. All right, so now let's test fit linear gear on top of those two pieces. A little bit of downward force on the linear gear to make sure that those rods are held by friction force. And you can see here that the linear gear hits the end of its movement space well before these guys hit the end of their slots. So we are good. We have full movement here. Now these rails are what keeps, it requires two rails to keep that gear from twisting, keep it stable. Okay, so now that that's set, I'm going to go ahead and put, first I'm going to test this. Okay, not too much glue on the end of this toothpick, so I'm going to put a drop of CA glue on this toothpick and then drop the glue into the slots. This will not be the permanent gluing yet. There we go. A little drop of glue there. All right. Now I'm going to drop this linear gear here. Wipe that bit of glue off the outside there. Here we go. I'm going to drop this in the forward position, all the way forward. Slide that rod back just a little bit. Okay. This is the chance to position everything quite well. There we go. Okay. Now I'm going to let that sit for a little bit. You can see that moves quite nicely. All right, now that CA glue's had a chance to set for a little bit, we are going to glue the entire rod in place. All right, so I put a drop of glue in the center, and I'm going to use this toothpick to run it. Looks like we'll need more glue. Better to start with a smaller amount of glue than to have it overrun the piece. There we go. That looks pretty good. Spread this out. You want the glue to get down into that slot. Okay, now it probably doesn't take this much glue to hold these pieces well, but I kind of believe in overkill when it comes to a structural piece. All right, there we go. And then I have a small square of blue paper towel here. I'm just going to wipe the back. Make sure that glue is nice and flattened before I spray on the accelerator. All right. Accelerator's in play here. Let that sit for a little bit. Okay, note how the rods are mostly parallel. In fact, they look pretty good. All right, so I'm going to quickly test fit this again. Now, just out of curiosity, I'm going to flip this over. All right, note how one side of this linear gear is the front end. It's got to be the side where the rod comes all the way up to the wall right there. Luckily, if you get it wrong, it's easy to take the unit apart and flip it around so that it's correct. All right, it's highly unlikely that those rods, once glued into the linear bearing, are going to move. But there's our moving part. Now to test the fit, let's put the top on. No gap. There's the rod. Move the gear back and forth. It moves smoothly enough. There we go. Okay. So the next step is to glue the servo mount onto the upper pylon piece. Okay, so the bottom of the servo mount is flush with the inside of the upper pylon. So just like that. So I already took the opportunity to sand down the contact area, which is here. We've got a nice fit there. So I'm going to go ahead and drop some glue in here. Spread that glue with my toothpick. Get it into the corners there. Okay. Then I'm going to drop this onto the wooden part of my table here. Oh, excuse me. Okay. Inside, down, the entire flat face of this servo mount goes into the pylon half, just like that. Okay, wait for that glue to set. I can hurry it along by spritzing a little bit of accelerator in there. Okay, let's hope I got that correct. Okay, that's had a chance to sit for a little bit. I went and double-checked the other pylons that I'd already built just to make sure, and yes, that is correct. The flat side of the servo mount goes in. The servo will sit on top of this little shelf right here. So now if I was going to be seeming to be a super genius, I should have checked that beforehand. But I got a little ahead of myself. No matter, I still did it correctly. Okay, now I just noticed that this little ledge is there. It shouldn't present a problem because this is supposed to fit all the way down like that, flush with the joined side of the upper pylon. Okay. Next thing we're going to do is get our rotary tool with the needle tip and clear out all the strings in the pylon mount. It's where the lock nut goes. This one doesn't look so bad. This one looks not so good. Okay, I'll do that next. All right, I've got my rotary tool with the very pointy straight edge. I call it my needly pointy carbide tip. And I'm going to use that to clean out that hole, all the strings in it. That looks pretty good. This one doesn't look like it really needs it, but have tool will use. You don't want to take out excessive material there. The inside of that hex space is tapered to start to grip the lock nut as it goes further down the hole. All right, so I'm going to clean up that bottom surface. It doesn't get seen when it's mounted on the model, but I do like to have it a little bit cleaner looking than that. Just me. Okay. Now, you can just file the rough parts off of this. Since I printed these two at a time, there's a tiny bit of stringing between them. Not that much, but this piece really doesn't need any help. All right. So what I'm going to do now is pass this M3 screw through the hole there, thread on a lock nut, and push it down into the hole. All right, there we go. It's pretty much set. Now, you can glue that lock nut in if you wish. Generally, I like to retrieve hardware out of anything that I break, so I am not going to glue that in. What I am going to do is tighten it up from this end of the mount, pull it a little further down into that tapered hole. Then when I back this out, it should come out without any problems. Okay, the lock nut's being held in place with a slip fit, so it shouldn't have any problem threading from this end now. All right, so rinse and repeat with the other one. Putting the screw through the hole. Now, these holes, that came directly from the printer. I did not do any re-drilling on that. I think I got the holes sized correctly. Here we go. Slip that down, give it a pull. Carefully start the threading. Thread it all the way down. Oops. All right, slip number 2. I'm trying to keep it focused in the camera here. So I slipped twice while not looking at the part itself. Okay, tighten it up. That's pulling the lock nut down through the hole. That's pretty tight. Now back it out, making sure not to pull the lock nut or push it back out again. Well, that one doesn't want to stay.